The Week 8 NFL Sunday games just finished. I'm going to have my reactions to those games. Going to run through all of them quickly and come up with some takeaways from each of these games. And then going to give you Week 9 fantasy football ad drops after that. So stay tuned for that. Before I get into everything, please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video. Visit walterfootball.com for tons of content, tons of free NFL content. We have 2026 and 2027 NFL mock drafts, NFL picks against the spread, NFL power rankings. We grade every signing. We grade every trade. It's all at walterfootball.com, and it's all free. All right, so going to run through these Sunday games, and then, like I said, going to give you some ad drops after that. So Jets 39, Bengals 38. So the Jets get their first win of the year. Justin Fields gets redemption. It almost felt like a movie. I think it was like a Major League where the owner like wanted the team to lose, and then they defied the owner, but it was only for one game. It's kind of like Woody Johnson talk crap about Justin Fields, and then Fields wasn't going to start, and then he had to start because Tyrod Taylor got hurt, and then he defied the owner and got the win. So it almost felt like a movie. Maybe they'll make a movie out of it one day. Probably not, but anyways, it was a nice win here for the Jets. So Fields had a good game. Hall had 2 rushing touchdowns, receiving touch or passing touchdown. It just inspiring win overall. They did get lucky though. Trey Hendrickson got hurt, and as soon as Hendrickson got hurt, I bet the Jets over points. I did that on Twitter. So follow me on Twitter at Walter Football. We post some live bets from time to time, and whenever a major injury happens like that, I'll post a play on it. We went 2-1 with those today, so that's a nice winning day in that regard. But yeah, Bengals, disappointing game from them. Have to think they have a good chance to rebound against the Bears. So this doesn't really end their season or anything. Obviously, it's still a long way to go, but they had a chance to go back to 500, and they did not. They lost to the Jets, which, if you're a Bengal fan, you have to feel pretty bad about that. Bills 40, Panthers 9. The Panthers came into this game with the number 1 run defense. And what happened? James Cook ran for 216 and 2 touchdowns. He was unbelievable. Josh Allen ran one in, scored one. He was really good. Khalil Shakir caught a passing touchdown, receiving touchdown, I should say. The Bills looked excellent. They hadn't played a great game since week 2. And, lo and behold, off the bye, they come in and play a great game. Matt Malone did not play, so I worried about the run defense, but Carolina was just so far behind they couldn't run at all. Andy Dalton just looked like a 38-year-old quarterback, however old he is. He looked miserable. McMillan actually did play better with Dalton, but that's the only positive you could say for the Panthers. It's not clear Bryce Young's going to return next week, but I can't really like their chances at all. Kind of like they got exposed here. Texans 26, 49ers 15. Big difference here between playing the Seahawks and the Niners. We saw this here. Monday night, the Seahawks had the number 2 pass rush in the NFL, and Houston can't block, so they had no chance. And in this game, the Niners are missing their top 3 defensive ends, so they had no one to get to the quarterback, and C.J. Stroud took advantage of it. I bet 2 units on Houston, and like even heading into the game, I'm like, man, I should be betting more. I was more concerned about not making changes after the disaster we had week 7 with making alterations to my picks. But this is one I regret. I feel like I should have had a much bigger play in Houston. I really liked Houston entering the game. My only worry was that Nico Collins was out, but look, if you give a talented quarterback lots of time in the pocket, he's gonna find his receivers no matter who they are, And San Francisco's just in shambles right now with their injuries. We'll see when they get their defensive ends back. That'll help, but they have so many players injured right now. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy, by the way, that Christian McCaffrey is I don't know where I got Christian Kirk from. Christian McCaffrey is still healthy. Like he's the only one who's remained healthy all this whole time. And Christian Kirk, by the way, did not play for Houston. I guess that's where that came from. Jalen Noel, by the way, 5 for 63. He's a pretty good receiver when Christian Kirk is out. They both play in the slot. All right, so Eagles 38, Giants 20. Is this the game that turns the Eagles season around? Could be. Saquon Barkley ran for 150 and a touchdown on only 14 carries. He left the game early with a groin. Sounded like he could have come back in if they needed him. Obviously, they didn't. But all year, the Eagles hadn't run blocked well for Barkley. He hadn't had a gain of more than 18 all season, and he had a 65-yard touchdown on the second play from scrimmage. So it could be a sign that the Eagles have finally figured their run blocking out, and It's kind of weird that it happened when Cam Jurgens was out, their center, but or maybe it's just Giants run defense that's that bad. We'll see. The Eagles have a bye, so we're not going to find out until week 10. But yeah, I mean, this is pretty promising for them. It's about this time last year when they got going. Remember, the first half of last year, they lost to Atlanta. They got blown out by Tampa. They barely beat New Orleans, and they barely beat Cleveland. And then they got going in the second half of the year. So maybe this is history repeating itself. For the Giants, you have to feel bad for Cam Scotabo. He dislocated his ankle. So gruesome. I was like, they showed a replay of it. I didn't see it at first. They showed a replay. And I'm like, I don't see the injury. Oh, man, that looks awful. Like his foot was like bent the wrong way. It was horrible. So feel bad for him. He was doing so well as a rookie. Tyron Tracy is someone we're going to talk about in the ad drops. So got to feel bad for Scotabo. Hopefully he has a quick recovery. All right, so Patriots 32, Browns 13. This was Drake May's first tough defensive test all year. He hadn't battled a team currently ranked in the top 10 of defense until the Browns. The Browns are number 3 heading into the week. And look, this is a 9-7 game at halftime. The Browns are doing a good job on him. He hit a couple of pass plays, but for the most part, they kept them bottled up. They kept Ramondre Stevenson bottled up as well. TreVeyon Henderson, by the way, looked much better than Stevenson. Stevenson 14 for 34, Henderson 10 for 75. So maybe they're finally figuring things out in New England. It's kind of hard to criticize because they keep winning, but it's like they have the way more talented back on the bench. And it's like, okay, just why not use them? Anyway, so the Browns in the second half were a disaster. Dillon Gabriel turned the ball over a couple times. He just a terrible game from him. He threw to one of the Patriots just right to the player, setting up a touchdown. And then Drake May hit more big plays. He had a big run. The Patriots ran away with this game. But again, it was 9-7 at halftime. So the Browns have done a good job of keeping games close for the most part all year. But it tends like this reminds me of the Baltimore game in week 2 where it was kind of in doubt. Like the Browns and the Ravens were playing a very close game, and then the Ravens scored a bunch of touchdowns in the fourth quarter to open the game up. That's exactly what happened here. So Ravens 30, Bears 16. RIP to those who took the Bears plus 6.5 in the Super Contest in the Circa Millions because it was a stale line after Lamar Jackson got ruled out. And I'm sitting here like, why couldn't we hear that news at 5 o'clock on Saturday instead of noon? Otherwise, Tom and I would have had the Ravens at minus 6.5, and we would have felt bad until this result. It's funny how that happens, but Lamar Jackson, Tyler Huntley completed almost every pass. He was 17 of 22. Nothing really special, but he was efficient. Henry has solid game, but really it was the defense. The Bears had 2 field goal drives to open the game, and then they didn't do anything until very late to score a touchdown. Overall, the Bears offense just wasn't doing anything. Now, it was funny at the end of the game, they had a chance to, they're down 2 touchdowns. They obviously need 2 touchdown drives. So in the first, I guess the only touchdown drive that they had, it really didn't end up with a touchdown. They looked exactly like they did in the Thanksgiving game. Like they just let time tick off the clock. Caleb Williams didn't really know what was going on. It looked really bad. Caleb Williams wasn't terrible in this game. He was pretty bad, but he wasn't awful. But at the end, it looked like he just was having a mental breakdown, didn't really understand what was happening. And that we saw that at Thanksgiving when Eberflus was fired. And then we saw that a few weeks later against Seattle on Thursday night. And then we saw the same thing here. I don't know what happens to him, in these late game situations, but it's like 1 is an accident, 2 is a trend, 3 is a disaster, I guess. I don't know. What is 3? I don't know. Caleb Williams, we've seen that 3 times from him. So it's you can't feel good if you're a Bears fan right now. Dolphins 34, Falcons 10. Okay. I think the Falcons and the Bengals are the only favorites who didn't cover today. And at least the Bengals had a chance to win the game. The Falcons just were a complete no-show. And Tom brought this up on the show. He's like, what if the Falcons don't show up? And I was like, but they're coming off a loss. Why won't they show up? A loss on national TV, no less. And they were a complete no-show. I don't understand this at all. Like, okay, if they had beaten San Francisco and they had beaten Buffalo before that, and 2 straight national TV wins, you're like, okay, they come home, they don't really take Miami seriously. They did that against Carolina week 3. I can at least understand that. Now it's a sign of bad coaching, which Raheem Morris is just an awful coach. But at least that makes logical sense. Like this result is just perplexing. I have no idea what Atlanta was doing in this game. It was just awful all around. The defense couldn't stop anything Miami was doing. Tua threw 4 touchdowns and 6 incompletions. Like, there's no reason for that to happen. Tua's been awful this year. The blocking's been awful. They weren't getting to Tua. They couldn't stop the run. Miami was just getting big play after big play. They control the clock. Atlanta couldn't run the ball against a Miami defense that's been allowing tons of rushing yardage left and right to everyone. Like, Kamani Vidal ran for 124. Rico Doodle ran for 206. Call him Doodle on this page. I don't get. I'm just dumbfounded by this result. Like, how's something like this happen? I don't know. I like, you have to downgrade Atlanta. Raheem Morris is a disaster of a head coach. We saw the Buccaneers quit on him when he was coaching the Buccaneers back like in 2011, I think, one of those years. And it's not a surprise that like we're seeing this from him. I don't understand what Atlanta was thinking hiring this guy. This guy's a buffoon. Look, he's good at what he does when he's coaching defense, but when he's making all the decisions, he's a disaster. He just can't be a head coach anymore. So I don't get it. I don't get it. Anyway, let's move on. This is another tilting result: Buccaneers 23, Saints 3, because we had Tampa as a 5-unit play. And then the Sharps came in on New Orleans because Vita Vea was DMP on Thursday and Friday. And I'm like, oh man, if Vea doesn't play, like, they're not going to be able to stop the run. And like, when the Saints run, their crappy quarterbacks can do well, but when they can't run, their crappy quarterbacks have to do stuff, and they can't. So I was like, if Tampa can't stop the run, this is going to be a completely different game. Well, it just turns out Vea played, and the Saints couldn't run the ball, and the Saints couldn't do anything. This is the game we predicted throughout the whole week. And of course, the injury report screwed us once again, in a different way this time, but like, still, very frustrating to see this result and not being able to profit off of it. It sucks, but I don't know. What do you do? Just not look at the injury report? I feel like that's a bigger mistake. So I don't know. I mean, the Sharps were on New Orleans, so we were on the same. Well, we weren't even on the same side of the Sharps. We still took the Bucs for a non-play, but the Sharps are wrong about this one. So anyway, Broncos 44, Cowboys 24. It's funny how Denver can play better when they're not traveling across the globe and visiting London because Roger Goodell wants to hang out with Prince Andrew. Like traveling from Denver to Philly to London back to Denver and like that stretch, like, of course they were barely beating these teams. Like, they're exhausted, and now they got to just sit at home for a whole week for once and take on a bad team. Dallas, Dallas's offense is great, but their defense is awful. So, no wonder they had this result. Bo Nix was able to shred this defense. Dobbins ran for 111. Harvey had some big plays. Troy Franklin stepped up. As shout out to Armac, who recommended Troy Franklin in the 20th round of best ball. We took him in a couple of times there. Dallas's offense was a big disappointment. I thought they'd score more than the 24. This is the only live prop we got wrong because when Patrick Surtain got knocked out, we bet Dallas over 26.5. And looked for a time that they would get there, but that Dak Prescott threw an interception. Then that play looked hopeless. And then Joe Milton led a touchdown drive at the end. And I was like, oh man, we have a chance. And then Dallas just ran the ball out. I was like, why not give Milton some reps? Like, yeah, I think it was I think Tony Romo was making the call. I'm not sure whoever was the announcer for this game. I think it was Romo. He was like, why not let Joe Milton show what he has? And of course, Dallas just didn't do it. Brian Schottenheimer was kind of a buffoon too. So yeah, it's disappointing for Dallas, but Denver finally rested. I think we kind of see what they're made out of, so they should be moving up the power rankings. Colts 38, Titans 14. This is really 38-7 before garbage time. Jonathan Taylor ran for 153 and 2 touchdowns on 12 carries, like 12. If he had just gotten like 24 carries, like, a normal amount, he would have had for 306 rushing yards, which would have broken the single game record. So that's the sort of game it was for the Colts. They're just hitting some big plays. I would say the one concern for the Colts in this game, Jones got sacked 3 times by a Tennessee front that does not get any pressure on the quarterback and was already missing Jeffrey Simmons. So I was a little worried about that going forward for the Colts, but look, they're 7-1, and really they'd be 8-0 right now if Adonai Mitchell had not dropped the ball. So shout out to them. I mean, it's great season so far for the Colts. So the schedule's going to get tougher. So we're going to see what they're made out of. Next week they have a test coming up in week 9. They play at the Steelers. So the Steelers look pathetic today, but the Steelers at least have a good defense, and they're going to be able to get to the quarterback. And they're coming off a loss where that's typically when Mike Tomlin thrives. So that game is at least going to be tougher than this one. I can promise you that. And Sunday night game, Packers 35, Steelers 25. The Steelers were up 16-7 at halftime. They had gotten a couple of third down penalties heading their way that helped give them the lead, but then it swung the other way where the officials missed this awful offsides. It was so obvious, and it was a 3rd and 8. It would have been a 3rd and 3. Steelers could have continued to drive, but they had a punt, and then on the next drive on 3rd down. Again, a 3rd down. Jordan Love was getting hit as he threw it. He just threw the ball up for grabs. Like it could have easily been picked. Tucker Kraft makes this great catch and runs for 59 yards. And then they convert another 4th down, and then they score a touchdown. And then it was all Packers after that. Steelers got a field goal and then a garbage time touchdown. But otherwise, the Packers just couldn't be stopped in the second half. Jordan Love had 20 straight completions. The Packers scored on all 5 of their second half possessions, not including the one at the end where they're running the clock out. So, just a great showing by the Packers, who had kind of like the Bills. They had not played well since week 2. And despite their wins, like they were letting teams hang around and stuff like that. But yeah, they came back with a vengeance here and dismantled Pittsburgh and looked great. They look like a top 5 team in the NFL. All right, let's talk about some ad drops here. So, Tyrone Tracy has to be the number one. This is super high priority. Cam Scatterbo is going to be out for a long time with a dislocated ankle. So Tracy is going to be the Giants' lead back again, and he's got talent. He can break long gains. We saw what he did last year. So this is very high priority. Spend most of your fab if you have it. It's already, it's going to be week 9. There's not going to be too many opportunities for you to do that. So go nuts. Go nuts, especially if you need a running back. Isaiah Davis, I have him listed as a medium priority. So there's a good chance Breece Hall is going to be traded, especially after this game where he kind of had a great game. So Isaiah Davis, he also played very well. He gets carries, he gets catches already. And even if Breece Hall is not traded, there's a chance he gets injured, or, Davis is, like I said, he's picking up a lot of touches here and there. So he's viable to play for bye weeks and stuff like that. And, you never know what happens late in the year. Maybe Hall goes down. And if so, like, Davis is going to be one of the top priorities. So why not own him? Kyle Monangai, I listed him last week. He had 13 carries against the Saints. Not as many this time, but the Bears are playing from behind, so he didn't really get a chance. He needs to be owned just because, DeAndre Swift has a long injury history. We have Tyjae Spears. I talked about him last week, but he's still only owned in 36% of ESPN leagues. So pick him up. Tony Pollard might be on the move as well. Kayshon Boutte, you're like, well, you keep talking about Kayshon Boutte every week. Why do you keep talking about him? Well, he's only owned in 30% of ESPN leagues. Like, people, come on. Like, what is happening here? I want to stop listening to this guy. I'm starting him in two of my leagues. Like, I don't get how he's only owned in 30% of leagues. This guy's awesome. He's been great for Drake May. He's been the top producer for the Patriots, except for like 1 or 2 weeks. Pick him up. Come on, guys. Pick him up. Troy Franklin, medium priority as well. He's established himself as the number 2 receiver. And like I said, he had the top game for the Broncos this week, 8 for 98. Armac was all over this guy in the summer. So it's a reason to tune into our live streams. We go live Tuesday through Friday around 10:30 p.m. Eastern. The Thursdays during the seasons later usually, because we wait till after Thursday Night Football. But the other days are 10:30 Eastern. Jaden Higgins, low priority. So I talked about the Texans receivers here. Jaden Higgins had more targets than anyone. Xavier Hutchinson had more yards than anyone. Noel, I think, is the best guy for PPR because he feels like Christian Kirk in the slot, and Kirk might be might continue to be injured. We don't know. You don't know yet. So if Kirk is out again, you can start Noel in PPR. But all this is kind of moot because Nico Collins might be back soon. It was a concussion, so his 1 week is up, and he should be back. If he's not, though, I think you can pick up Higgins or Hutchinson or Noel, depending on Kirk with Noel. But if Kirk is back, then it's either going to be Hutchinson or Higgins, and I would trust Higgins just because he had more targets. Some drops. Talking about Michael Carter, he's still owned in more than 50% of leagues. Mike Evans, he's owned in 66% of leagues. So I feel like most of these are probably defunct, really. Chris Godwin, I said all summer he's not going to play till November, and he really hasn't played till November. So it's not a good situation for him. He's not healthy. Jerry Jeudy, he couldn't catch a single pass in this game. Like, Dylan Gabriel can't get the ball to him. Jeudy is the number one receiver on the team. And it's kind of crazy to cut a number one receiver on a team in fantasy, but he's just not getting anything from Gabriel. Now, maybe Shedeur Sanders takes over. Sanders' floor, I think, is lower than Gabriel's, but at least he can get the ball downfield. And so maybe then Jeudy does something, but still, I don't know. It's a pretty bleak situation. Cooper Kupp, there's no reason he should be owned in any league. I used my number one bust this summer. And the Darnell Mooney, what the heck was this? Like, Drake London was out. Mooney, I suspect, was owned in most of DFS lineups. I didn't play him. I kind of thought it might be a trap because for the wrong reason. I thought Bijan would just have a big game and the Falcons wouldn't have to run or throw. Sorry. And then, but they had to throw, and they just didn't throw to Mooney. Like, Mooney did not do anything in this game. It's like, all right, if you can't produce under those circumstances, then you should not be owned in fantasy. Just goodbye. So that again, Atlanta, just a complete mess today. So those are the reactions I had to week 8, the fantasy football ad drop for week 9. We'll be back tomorrow with power rankings. But until then, please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, and visit walterfootball.com for tons of free NFL content every single day. And I will talk to you in the next video.